Hi family, there's your boy Patrick Okrah and welcome to Patrick's piano class. And as always, I am excited, yes, because I get to share, learn and grow with you all. All right. In today's video is just going to be a continuation of my previous video. All right. And so if you are new here, please do check out my previous video before proceeding to this one so you understand everything that I'll be sharing today. And also, if you haven't joined my one-on-one private lessons yet, man, you are missing a lot, really missing a lot, because a lot of people are discovering their potential. All right, and the testimonies that I'm getting is just mind-blowing. You just don't want to miss this one-on-one private lessons. Trust you me, I mean, it's something that is really going to take your playing to the next level. All right, that being said, let's get straight into today's video. Now, in my previous video, I made mention of 4 basic scales that we can use to derive our chords, which we started off using the major scale, and we're able to build our all our chords in the major scales using the various modes. All right. Now, so today I'm going to be talking about the melodic minor, the diminished scale, and the whole tone scale. All right. The melodic minor, the diminished scale, and the whole tone scale. All right. So we're just going to start with the melodic minor straight away. Okay. So the melodic minor is very identical to the major scale. Only difference is that the melodic minor has a minor third, whereas the major scale has a major third. All right. Other than that, this is the major scale. In this case, this is the major scale of the key of C. All right. Now, if we remove our hands from this E and place it on this E flat, we get the melodic minor scale. All right. So that's the only difference. Other than that, I mean, they're just the same. All right, so the melodic minor scale has a minor third. And I must say, in jazz theory, the melodic minor ascending and descending is the same, unlike in the classical world. Now, in the classical world, the ascending and descending is quite different, but in jazz theory, they're the same, all right? Same up and same down. But in classical, you place up, and then when descending, it's a different thing altogether, all right? But we are talking about or we are going to be dealing with the jazz theory today, all right? So, and the first thing you want to do is to straight away build your modes. Remember from our previous video, you build your modes and then you use the interval of thirds to build your chords. And that is the basic way of building a chord, all right? So let's start building our modes. And if you don't know what modes are basically new scales built from existing scales, all right? So modes are not like a standalone. They are derived from some sort of existing scales, all right? In this case, the melodic minor scale, all right? So if you are to pick our first mode, we are going to get the melodic minor mode. Even though this is the scale, I mean, it's still, I mean, let's assume there's a shadow of the same thing, okay? Giving us our first mode. So we have, so this is our first mode, and the name of the mode is the melodic minor mode, just as the scale, all right? Now, we're going to pick the second note and build the second mode. And this is going to give us the Dorian flat 2, all right? We're going to pick the third one, build, and then this is going to give us the Lydian augmented mode, all right? And the fourth one is going to give us the Lydian dominant mode, all right? And the fifth one is going to give us the Mixo-Lydian flat 6. And then the sixth mode is going to give us the Locrian sharp 2 mode, all right? That's the name of the mode. And the last mode, which is the famous, is going to give us the altered scale, all right? Altered scale, and that is the name of the last mode. So these are all the modes you can derive from the melodic minor scale, all right? So once we know our modes, we just go ahead and start building our chords, all right? And how do you build a chord? In theory, basically, you build a chord using the interval of thirds, all right? So we just pick our first mode, which is the melodic minor mode, and then we build the chord using interval of thirds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. And remember, anytime you get your 4-note chord, you give it a pause, you name the chord before you add your extended notes. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, this becomes the main chord, and any other note you add to this becomes the extended note. All right. So we have main chord. And how do you name the chord? You name the chord by using the third and the seventh. All right, in this case, we have the third as a minor third and the seventh as a major seventh. And in theory, anytime you have a minor third and a major seventh, you get a minor major seventh chord. All right, so we have a minor major seventh chord here. And I must say, this chord doesn't have any avoid note. All right, as a matter of fact, this scale doesn't really have any avoid note, with some exceptions. All right, with some exceptions. All right, but this scale doesn't really have any avoid note, so you just build a chord and straight away, that's it. Okay, so this becomes the first chord in the melodic minor scale, and that is a C minor major scale. And this chord is very useful. All right, just that in the gospel world sometimes it's rarely used, but it's very useful. Okay, so this is the C minor major seventh. So that becomes the first chord from the first mode. All right, so now let's move on to the second mode. All right, so we have 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So we have a minor seventh here. So now we already have a minor seventh that doesn't have any avoid notes in the major scale. That is, if you can remember from the previous video, we had a minor seventh from the second mode of the major scale, and we are getting another minor seventh from the second mode of the melodic minor scale. Now, what is the difference between this one and this and the one in the major scale? The difference is that if we continue to build this chord is going to have a flat 9. Okay, using the interval of thirds, this chord is going to have a flat 9. And remember, an avoid note is any flat 9 above any of the chord tones. All right, so that is why I said even though this scale doesn't have any avoid notes, there are some exceptions, and this is one of them. Okay, so now this note here, right here, is a flat 9 above this chord tone D, and so this becomes an avoid note, sort of. So, and the reason why we need to avoid the avoid notes is just so it doesn't ruin the quality of the chord, because avoid notes ruins the quality of any chord. And so what happened in theory is that this chord wasn't rendered useless, but rather it was changed from this minor seventh chord to a suspended seventh chord. All right, so we have a suspended seventh with a flat 9. All right, a dominant suspended chord with a flat 9. So you have D7 sus 4 with a flat 9. Okay, and so this is why I think the name of the mode is called a Dorian flat 2, because of the flat 9. All right, so this is the chord we are getting from the second mode of the melodic minor. All right, now on the first mode we had the minor major 7. So on the second mode you get a dominant 7 suspended 4 with a flat 9. Now also remember that we had a suspended chord from the fifth mode of the major scale. Now that one had a natural 9, natural 11, natural 9 and natural 13. The 11 is what makes it a suspended already. So that one had a natural 9 and a natural 13, but this one has a flat 9. Okay, and then it has a natural 13. That's the only difference. The only difference is that this one has a flat 9. Okay, so please take note of the differences. All right, so that is it for the second mode. Now let's move on to the third mode. On the third mode, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So in the third mode, we are going to get our first major 7 sharp 5 chord. Now this is a major 7 with a sharp 5, and so this one is also different from the one we had from the fourth mode of the major scale. That one had a sharp 11, even though this one also has a sharp 11, but this one has a sharp 5 as part of the main chord. All right, so this is E flat major 7 sharp 5 chord. All right, and it's quite rarely used, even though it's useful most of the time. I mean, people use it as the augmented instead of the major 7 sharp 5 itself. So when you omit the 7, you get an augmented chord. All right, so most of the time we use the augmented instead of using the full major 7 sharp 5 chord. All right, and if you can see, there is an avoid note, which is the C, that is a flat 9 above the B. All right, And so if you are adding the extended notes to this, be very careful because there's an avoid note here. All right. And we don't normally play the avoid note against any chord. You either play it as a passing note, all right, or you don't play it at all. Okay. But as I said, this chord is rarely used. I mean, you hardly see anybody playing a major 7 sharp 5 chord, all right? But it exists in theory, all right? And mostly it's used as just an augmented, okay? So that is it for the third mode. Now let's move on to the fourth mode. Now from the fourth mode, we get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We get our first dominant chord in the melodic minor scale, all right? So this is an F dominant chord because it has a major third and a minor seventh, all right? So anytime you build your chord using the interval of thirds, you name the chord using the third and the seventh. So in this case, it's a dominant chord. Now, if we are to add extended notes to this, we're going to get a natural 9, sharp 11, and a natural 13. And I must say, this is one of the most useful chords, I mean, so far as gospel and jazz is concerned, all right? So this is a dominant 7, natural 9, sharp 11, and natural 13. Okay, so this is our first dominant chord from the melodic minor scale. All right, and there are no avoid notes in this one. And so this chord in its fullness is very useful. Very useful. All right, so we move on to the next mode, which is the fifth mode of the melodic minor. All right, so if you are to use the interval of thirds, you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so we are getting another dominant seventh chord here. All right. But this dominant chord is going to be rendered useless because of the presence of the avoid notes. Now, no dominant chord has a natural 11. But if you look at this dominant chord here, it has a natural 11. And this here, right here, is an avoid note. That's just a flat ninth above the B. All right. And so this is rendered useless in theory. I mean, even though it exists in theory, you'll never see anybody playing a dominant 7 with a natural 11. So instead, this was, or this can also be seen as an inversion of the first chord, all right? So instead of playing a dominant chord, you rather play another C minor major 7 in replace of this one, okay? So this is just like an inversion of the first chord we had, all right? And the reason why this works is because the melodic minor scale is interchangeable, and I'm going to explain that shortly. All right, it's very interchangeable. That means if you are to play like this chord voicing, whatever. If I put the root note, if I use this C as my root note, I'm going to get a C minor major 7. If I change the root note to D, remember I'm going to get a D sus flat 9. Remember, and that was exactly what we had on the second mode of the melodic minor scale. If I move here, I'm going to get another major 7 sharp 5. Now with the melodic minor scale, because of the nature of the melodic minor scale, in theory, the third and the seventh is not really that important, okay, because of the nature of the melodic minor. And I know that is very theory heavy and that is very controversial, all right, but I will take my time to explain some of these details in a separate video, all right. But for now, let's just continue building our chords so that it doesn't become very theory heavy, all right. So I mean, let's just forget about that and continue from the fifth mode, all right. So let's just say the fifth mode is the same as the first mode, but in a different inversion. All right. So that is it for the fifth mode. Now let's move on to the sixth mode. All right. On the sixth mode, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we get what we call the half diminished chord. And if you can remember very well, we have this same chord from the last mode of the major scale, but that one had an avoid note. All right. But this one doesn't have any avoid note. All right. And so this one is very useful. And this is a minor 7 flat 5 chord. And it's coming from the sixth mode of the melodic minor. All right. Now, if you are to add extended notes to it, we're going to get a natural 9, a natural 11, and a flat 13. All right. So this is going to be the natural 9, natural 11, and a flat 13. All right. And that is the extended notes for the half diminished chord. All right. So that is it for the sixth mode. So now to the last mode of the melodic minor. All right, and then this mode is very useful and very popular, famous both in gospel and in jazz. Okay, and that is the altered scale. Now, with this last mode, there is something I need to tell you all or show you all. Now, let's look at the last mode. Now, from the or in reference to the key of B, okay, we can see that this chord has both a minor third and a major third. It looks as if this chord has a minor third, which is the D, and a major third. Or this scale has a minor third and major third. Looking at it from, B. All right? And in theory, anytime you have both a minor third and a major third existing in a scale, you consider the major third to be the third and consider the minor third to be a sharp 9. All right? So in theory, anytime you have a scale or a mode that has both a minor third and a major third, you consider the major third as a third, and the minor third as a sharp 9. Okay, so in this case, this is going to be a sharp 9. All right? And now let's see. The reason why this is called the altered scale is that apart from the 1 and the third, all the notes are altered. We don't have like a natural 9. We don't have a natural 11. We don't have like a natural 13. All right. We don't even have like a natural 5. Apart from the 1 and the third here, all the notes are altered. And so that's why it's called the altered scale. Okay. And so if you're looking for, and it's a dominant chord, all right, it has a minor 7 as well. So major third and minor. So this is a dominant chord. And it has a flat 9, sharp 9, sharp 11 or flat 5, and a sharp 5 or a flat 13. All right. So we don't have any natural notes apart from the 1 and the third. And so that is why this mode is called the altered mode, or this chord is called the altered chord. All right. And so using the interval of third thin, it's not going to be possible because of the nature of the notes, because all the notes are altered. If you use the interval of thirds, you're going to get, let's say this is our third, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're not even going to get the minor 7. So anytime you get here, you just play the minor 7 straight away. All right. And then you add the rest of the notes as extended notes. And so this is how you're going to play this chord. So the third and the 7 are already established. All right. So you add the flat 9, the sharp 9, the sharp 11, the flat 13 or sharp 5, all right, to this. And then you get a full chord. And this chord is one of the most useful. This is where all the upper structures come from. And when I start talking about chord voicings, I'm going to show you a very easy way you can be able to, apply, or a very easy way you can be able to use to build some of these chord voicings for these complex chords. All right. Yes. So that is the last mode, and that's the last chord of the melodic minor scale. All right. So that brings us to the end of the melodic minor scale. Very, very straightforward and very simple. Now, so let's move on to the diminished scale. All right. The diminished scale is a very interesting scale. All right. And we can only have, or we will be able to derive only 2 chords from the diminished scale. Just 2 chords from the diminished scale. And in the whole tone scale, it's just 1 chord. All right. So that makes it very easy. Now, let's look at the diminished scale. Now, from C, you're just going to move half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, and whole step to get our diminished scale. All right. So from C, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, and then we get the diminished scale. Now, the diminished, as I mentioned, it has just 2 modes. Okay, and the reason is because of the interval, which is even across the scale. Just half step, whole step. That means if you're getting a half step and a whole step for the first time, it's just the interval is just repeating itself at the same space. All right. So everything you get from the first two half step, whole step, half step and whole step is going to repeat itself. All right. And so we only have two modes from the diminished scale, and that is the half whole diminished and the whole. From C. No, from here we have the whole half. Okay, so this is the first mode, half step, whole step. If I move to the second mode, we have whole step and half step. All right. As you can see on the screen, that's the whole half step. All right. So just two diminished modes. All right. The half whole but essentially they're the same thing. Don't let it confuse you. Modes are just new scales built from existing scales. All right. Just at the start and the end, then it's different. So that is it for the diminished. So now let's look at how we can be able to build our chords. Now, this diminished scale here also has a minor third and a major third. Okay, just like the altered mode. But as I said, anytime in theory, anytime you have a major third and a minor third, you consider the major third as the main third, and the minor third as a sharp 9. All right. So if I'm to use the interval of thirds, I'm going to get this, and this. All right. So another dominant 7th chord. Okay. And this is also a dominant 7th altered chord, because now let's look at the extended notes. You're going to have a flat 9, a sharp 9, a sharp 11, but a natural 13. All right. So let me just mute the pad. So this is the chord we are going to get from the diminished scale. All right. So it's a dominant chord with a flat 9, sharp 11, and a natural 13. All right. Now, let's look at this very, very well. This has almost the same notes as the one we had from the last mode of the melodic minor. All right. The only difference here is that this one has a natural 13, okay, and a natural 5. Whereas the one we had from the melodic minor, that's the altered scale, has everything altered, including the 5 and the 13. But this one has the 13 and the 5 natural. All right. But it has a flat 9, sharp 11. Okay. So talking about dominant chords and dominant altered chords, you can always choose from the altered scale, that's the last mode of the melodic minor, or from the diminished scale. All right. Which is the first mode of the diminished scale. All right. So that is the full chord you're going to get from the diminished scale. All right. So you're going to have a dominant 7, flat 9, sharp 9, sharp 11, and a natural 13. And that's all you're going to have. All right. So now let's move to the second mode. All right. Now, on the second mode of the diminished scale, if you are to apply the interval of thirds, you're going to get a full diminished chord. All right. A full diminished chord. And I mean, this is just our first full diminished chord. All right. And that is it. That is all for the diminished scale. With the diminished scale, you're just going to get 2 chords. All right. This and then the diminished scale. That is all you're going to get. All right. So anytime you play a diminished scale or diminished chord, you know it's coming from the second mode of the diminished scale. Make sense? Yes. The diminished chord comes from the diminished scale. Right. Now, if we are to look at it or add extended notes, realize that it's going to left with this, another diminished. Okay. Superimposing each other. All right. This is going to be like the full chord, but nobody plays this full chord like this. All right. Nobody plays it like this. Okay. Because that's the only note left in the diminished scale. The only notes that are left in the diminished scale are this, and this. Other than that, we are playing this. All right. So that is the diminished scale. But mostly we just play the first diminished chord and that's it. All right. So those are the only 2 notes. Now, let's look at this. The diminished and the whole tone scale is termed as symmetrical scale because of the nature of the interval with which they build the scales. All right, the intervals are very even and the same. So whatever you get on the first two, it's just going to repeat itself. So let's look at something here. The first chord, which is a C dominant with a flat 9. Okay, if we are to omit this one and bring it here, okay, now it's going to give us it's going to give us a C7 flat 9 chord. If we move to the next second mode, it's going to give us a diminished. If we move to the third mode, it's going to give us E flat 7 flat 9. So you see how this is going. If you move to the next one, it's going to give us diminished. So the same thing repeating itself. The fourth, is it the fourth mode? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth mode is going to give us the same 7 flat 9. If we move to the fifth mode, it's going to give us another diminished chord. If we move to the sixth mode, same 7 flat 9. If we move to the seventh mode, it's going to give us a diminished chord. So this is why they say this scale is symmetrical. Or this is why I said all the chords repeat itself. Whatever you get on the first and the second mode is just going to repeat itself throughout the entire scale. And so that's why we only have 2 chords from the diminished scale. All right. And so that brings us to the end of the diminished scale. That is it. Now, don't worry too much about how you'll be able to remember these chords, and also don't worry too much about how you'll be able to play them. All right. In my subsequent videos, I'm going to be breaking, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make it very simple for you. Okay. It makes it very easier for you to play. Okay. So don't worry about how you're going to play all these stuff. Okay. That is why I'm here. And so, that being said, let's move on to the last mode of the melodic minor scale. All right. Sorry, the last scale. The last scale, actually, not the last mode of the melodic minor scale. The last scale is the whole tone scale. Okay. And the whole tone scale is very simple. And as I mentioned, it just has one chord. Just one chord. All right. And so let's look at the whole tone scale. From C, we have a whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone. All right, and whole tone again, you get C again. So from C, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone. And so the whole tone scale only has one mode. One mode, because here the intervals are also the same, very even. All right, the same interval, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone. So everything you get on the first mode is just going to repeat itself. And so we just have just one mode, and that's the whole tone. Okay, so now let's look at the chords we can, or the chord we can be able to build from this. So this has a major third and a dominant 7, all right, or minor 7. So we have our first dominant, we have a dominant chord again in this mode. Now let's look at something here. This is also a dominant altered chord, but it has a natural 9, a sharp 11, and a sharp 5 or a flat 13. Okay, so dominant chord, it has a natural 9, sharp 11, and a sharp 5 or a flat 13. Okay, so that is it. And this is the only chord you're going to get from the whole tone scale. All right, this is the only chord you're going to get from the whole tone scale. So let's look at something here. This is also a dominant altered chord, but this one is different from the major scale, the diminished scale. And this one is also different from the melodic minor scale. All right, that's the last mode of the melodic minor scale. They are all dominant altered chords, but they have their differences. Here, this one has a natural 9, and the rest is just altered. All right. But in the diminished scale, we have a flat 9, sharp 9, but with a natural 13. And from the last mode of the melodic minor scale, which is the altered mode, we have a flat 9, sharp 11, sharp 5, or flat 13. So with that one, all the notes are altered. With the diminished, not all the notes are altered. And with the whole tone, all the notes are not altered. All right. So we just have to know the differences, but they are all dominant altered chords, which are very useful in both gospel and jazz. All right. But as I mentioned, don't worry too much about how you're going to be able to play these chords. All right. I'll be teaching that in my subsequent videos. So this brings us to the end of the whole tone scale. All right. And as I mentioned in my previous video, the whole or the main goal or aim for this whole lesson is for you to be able to know your chords, number one, and number two, also to know that we don't play in keys. We play from keys or we play in scales. All right. So in this case, anytime I play, let's say, a suspended flat 9 chord, all right, let's say in the key of C, let me pick a random progression in the key of C. Okay, so let's say from the 6, minor 7 to the 2, and then on the 5. All right, so on the 5, okay. All right, so let me change the progression. So 3, 6, 2. All right, now on the 5, I played a suspended flat 9 chord. So if I'm to ask you that which mode did we use to derive this chord, will you be able to tell me? If I should ask you the corresponding mode for this particular chord, will you be able to tell me? Or if I ask you to improvise on this very given chord, will you be able to tell me? Or will you be able to improvise? What mode are you going to use to improvise on this given chord? All right. Now, we had this chord on the second mode of the melodic minor, if you don't know. So if I'm to improvise on this very chord, I'm going to use the F melodic minor to improvise on this given chord. And this is the F melodic minor. So even though we are playing in C, the moment I hit the 5, and then I resolve to my 1. Okay, and so this is the concept the jazz and all these professional gospel players use, right, to improvise. And so, I mean, once you understand this concept, you should be able to improvise on any given chord progression. Okay, 2 5 1s. See, so I'm just playing a 2 5 1. All right, and I'm able to do that because the chords that I'm playing on my left hand, I know how to derive the chords. And not only that, I know the corresponding scales. I know that this is the mode we use to derive this chord, is the mode we use to derive this chord. And so it becomes very easy for me to improvise using the scales. And this is jazz. Now in gospel, there's a whole new way you can use to play some of these things. All right. So again, this brings us to the end of today's class. And as I promised, I was going to cover all 3 scales and was not going to make this video too long. So I'm going to end here, all right? And then we're going to continue from chord voicings, all right? Because after learning the concept, after learning how to build the chords, the next thing you want to do is to learn how to play the chords. And so you don't want to miss my next video for anything, all right? And I'm going to show you how you can be able to use both left hand and the right hand to voice your chords or to play your chords. All right. So if you have any questions too, you can put them down in the comment section. But I want to say that if you really want to take your playing to the next level, then you want to hit me up and then join my private one-on-one session where I get to explain and break. Because of YouTube restrictions, I'm unable to do covers and break down songs on YouTube, all right, because of copyright issues. And so I do all of that in my private class and sections. And so if you really want to learn And if you really want me to monitor your progress, then you want to join my private online class. Okay, but until then, see you in the next video. Happy practicing. Bye bye.